Hello everyone, friends. My name is Denis Galanzovsky and we are continuing to look at the mess that's happening right now. No matter how hard certain government structures try to divert attention or distract with some other news, the investigation by the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine is on the front pages everywhere. And now there's only one question. How will this directly affect Zelensky? As far as I understand, the campaign to separate him from is already in full swing. Other figures who are directly involved, including his godfather Chernyshov, who is already actually implicated in a second criminal case, and his former, well, I don't know if he's former or not, business partner Mindich, who also owns half, let's say, of the 95th quarter, and the president also yesterday, did not record his evening address. The last time this happened was when the independence of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office was eliminated. There was also no evening address then. He just recorded it now. Let's start with it. And then we'll move on to other statements, because it's a very interesting fact that, as the prosecutor of the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office stated, Zelensky is also mentioned in one of the recordings of those same Mindich tapes.
I wish you good health, dear Ukrainians. Today I had a detailed conversation with the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Yulia Sviridenko. First, maximum transparency is essential in all energy processes, as well as in every law enforcement and anti-corruption investigation.
What's most interesting is that there's a lot of information, yes, which is being reviewed, including by the Prosecutor's Office, the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, and there as well. The name Sviridenko was also mentioned after Denis Shmyhal's government, yes, about which position to appoint her to and who to appoint to her position. So all these current shenanigans are a very interesting thing, and now they're trying to get by with minimal losses, as I understand it, and that's even though the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine hasn't published all the recordings. As far as I understand, they're releasing them gradually in portions in order to create some pressure. And I think that Zelensky also didn't record anything yesterday. He was waiting to see what would happen next, what kind of reaction people would want.
I support the employees, we support them, and this is an absolutely clear and consistent position for everyone. No schemes, and it's good that the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine will provide full support, assisting all procedural judicial actions. There will be a cleansing and a reboot of energy management. Secondly, I believe that the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Energy cannot remain in their positions. This is,
by the way, the same Minister of Justice, who was previously the Minister of Energy, is the one connected, let's say, to Zelensky in those same recordings. But we'll get to that, because this was literally discussed today at the prosecutor's office meeting.
in particular, trust as well. If there are accusations, they need to be addressed. The decision to suspend someone from their position is the most prompt and efficient. I asked the Prime Minister of Ukraine to have resignation letters from these ministers. I asked the members of the Verkhovna Rada to support these statements. And then everything should be resolved in the legal field. Third, the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine will decide. Regarding sanctions upon the submission of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, right now, it is extremely difficult for everyone in Ukraine to go through power outages.
All right, let's not even listen to this any further. Then he says that the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine will impose sanctions on them. That's also all very good. He didn't say a word about Mindich. But overall, it's clear that there is a reaction. In the end, nothing like that is said here. We simply see that there will be the resignation of only two ministers who directly are already compromised. We can say that. We have a lot of interesting material, so let's not waste your time. Let's get to the most interesting part. In one Mindich Tapes episode, the president is mentioned. Zelensky called Halushchenko prosecutor Tsepi claims. What's notable is it's the same Halushchenko formerly Minister of Energy, now Minister of Justice, and a National Security and Defense Council member responsible for current sanctions. And who is all this supposed to target? During a high anti-corruption court session, the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office prosecutor referenced a conversation between Halushchenko, Mindich, and Zuckerman, saying it shows Mindich's influence. During the conversation, Zelensky called Halushchenko. The recordings capture the minister greeting Volodymyr Alexandrovich, and context shows the president called Halushchenko at Mindich's request. In the conversation, the businessman says that he read the short message service, and it's likely that he's referring to Zelensky. Halushchenko asked Mindich what exactly he wrote to the president. He replied that Hero wants to talk to you. Of course, they all speak Russian. The official asked the businessman about me, and he replied, well, listen, Volodymyr Alexandrovich, you know, it's not really an option for me to become a janitor. I'll do whatever you say, whatever you need, I'm yours. Then Halushchenko rushed to Zelensky.
That's the kind of fragment it was.
So, whether this is connected or not, we'll see. The investigation will continue, as I understand it, unless they keep putting pressure on them, but maybe they will. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I think it's very telling that these tapes started being published 3 days ago, and only on the third day there was any reaction. Next, moving on. There have already been a lot of interesting statements made. First of all, let's listen to Member of Parliament Kucherenko, because he links this to the pressure from Ukraine's international partners on the current Ukrainian authorities.
Alexei Alexeyevich, in that case, the question arises, why did our allies suddenly want to remove someone from their position? I've thought about this for 2 days, and it's not about those people or against Halushchenko or anyone else. Definitely not. I wish I could just see Mindich and sit with him. He's so bearded and manly, and what he does there, he's like a real Hercules. That's not the point. This is a blow to Ukraine's top leadership. Let's be realistic. And I understand that basically this is, despite all my criticism, all of it towards Zelensky and his entire team. But here we need to be cautious at this time when you see what's happening at the front, what's happening in the energy sector.
If you look in detail at what the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine publishes, all this corrupt gang, this criminal organization, they controlled the energy sector, which is now struggling due to their corruption, and the same applies to the defense industry, right? Because the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine also published a fragment about this, where it was said that the same Mindich had influence both on representatives of the energy sector and on representatives of military structures, who, as I understand it, were involved in supplying the front, possibly purchasing some equipment or weapons and so on. I think we will also find out more about all this later, right? Because we see that everything is being published very sporadically. So, quite a few such crazy corruption schemes, whether they are, let's say, one of the reasons for what's happening now in the energy sector and at the front, definitely. Could this really go unnoticed when ministers, just imagine, ministers are involved in such massive embezzlement? Maybe it went unnoticed, maybe not. Share your opinion in the comments.
It's not that simple with only 2 ministers. Don't take it personally. That's just my view.
Yes, and most likely after a little more time passes, there will be more people involved, more names. And this could actually lead to, I honestly don't even understand. I can't imagine where this could end up, because we still have no idea. What else is there? They told us about 1,000 hours of recordings, and anything at all could be heard there. Anyone could be involved there, absolutely anyone. And the only question is whether the representatives of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine will be allowed to show all this, to expose it, or if someone will make a deal with them or put pressure on them somehow, I don't know. Time will tell, and we have a statement from another parliament member. He's shouting and foaming at the mouth. Yes, there's Member of Parliament Osadchuk. Let's watch. Wow, he's shouting, it's wild.
I'm not accusing the president of Ukraine of corruption. I have no reason or evidence to believe that. It's clear to me that Volodymyr Zelensky is being systematically set up. and he's being systematically driven into a situation that causes catastrophic harm to him and to Ukraine. Someone persuaded him to make a bet on July 22nd. Someone persuaded him. Someone convinced him to agree to the appointment of a lot of people. Remember the statistics. Many people have been dismissed recently, some with and some without scandal. There have been cases where presidential appointees were dismissed, and actually, we never heard about it. And there were some debriefings with those who suggested these candidates to the president.
I'll say one more thing. And was there any responsibility for Reznikov, Danilov, Kuleba, or others?
Well, for all of them.
With Chernyshov, who got involved in a corruption scheme for the second time. The first one, back when he was the Minister of Unity, he united then, and he's now under suspicion. He is also suspected of embezzling 1 billion hryvnias. But here in the Mindich tapes, it's a different case. It is said that he received $1,200,000. He received $1.2 million total, with $500,000 paid after his first notice of suspicion from the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. What does this say? This says only one thing. These people don't believe that they will be held accountable by the law in any way. They only believe in their own impunity and that they can make money like this, while Ukrainians are left to donate 10 or 20 hryvnias and count their pennies. Even better, they want everyone to line up at the Territorial Recruitment Center and head to the front.
That's what I'm talking about. So basically, what I'm saying is that right now we have every reason to believe that there are people at the highest levels of Ukraine's leadership who are directly or indirectly involved in corruption. But I'm not talking about the president of Ukraine. I don't even want to think about that.
That's why our member of parliament avoids thinking about it. There's basically nothing to talk about here. Making guesses, making accusations. Time will tell and judge. Again, each of you may have your own opinion about this. Write what you think, but we see that there are a lot of scandals around Zelensky right now. It's linked to his inner circle, with Chernyshov, Halushchenko, Shulyak, and this same Mindich. And so on. And there are a whole number of these characters who were in the highest echelons of power. Unfortunately, and nobody paid attention to the fact that we are in an existential war.
And Ukraine could lose its independence.
And in the next episode, which I will also be preparing now, we will talk about the reaction of international partners. And those funding Ukraine, because the world isn't stupid. They are also watching very, very closely what is happening. And there are already the first refusals in funding. They say, go to your own corrupt officials. Let them give the money, but that's in the next episode. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for your attention. See you!